When people think about doll ownership, they usually picture an extreme, a headline, a clip taken out of context, the one person who looks the most unusual because that's what makes the story easier to sell. But most people don't live at the extremes. Most people wake up, make coffee, go to work, and then go home to a quiet space that means something to them. Tonight's conversation isn't about shock. It isn't about spectacle. It's about what everyday life actually looks like when companionship takes a different form.
My guest today isn't here to represent anyone.
He's not here to convince anyone. He's just here to talk honestly about his daily life and what people usually get wrong when they look at it from the outside. He goes by Florian. For this conversation, I'm stepping slightly out of the usual format, presenting it as a case file rather than a live interrogation. When people talk about how they come into this space, it's rarely through curiosity alone. More often, it starts during a moment of change, when something familiar ends and something quiet takes its place. I asked Florian how doll companionship first entered his life.
It's kind of funny story. First of all, it was born out of the need for some kind of companionship. When my girlfriend left me about 6 years ago, we had some kind of usual relationship troubles. And sometimes you have to realize that you have to separate and everybody has to go his or her own way. And it hit me quite hard. So I fell into a kind of pitch black, dark hole that was affecting my life. So I was about losing my job. I started drinking early in the morning. I was kind of depressed. It was kind of hard for me to get up in the morning and even brush my teeth, for example. And step by step, I started to make some progress with the help of friends and all the stuff to get over it. But after all, what kind of really hits me every day was to have an empty bed at night. So I was not used any longer to sleep alone. And when it comes to missing my girl at night, and it's specifically about her. So I tried other girls, of course, but it wasn't quite the same. I was missing her at night. So then I talked to some friends and they had kind of understanding and well-meaning for my situation. And they made a present to me on Christmas Day. Like, there are these long-shaped pillows for pregnant people. Yeah, so that if you lay at night, you can embrace this pillow that is kind of simulation of body, of a warm body beside you. But it didn't satisfy what I was looking for. So I was on sleeping pills, and this was horrible because these sleeping pills affected my daily life after getting up, because I was kind of hangover from the night. And then I started looking in the internet just for these. I saw it in Japanese commercials, I think, like these body-shaped pillows, like half a body, you can lie your arm about it or whatever. And in one of these forums, I think it was a remark to one of these products, I was looking at Amazon. A guy wrote, "Stop this shit. Buy yourself a sex doll, a love doll." I don't like the term sex doll. It's like kind of primitive. And then I started thinking about, because kind of 20 years ago, when these high quality full body dolls came out the first time, I think the brand was Real Doll or anything like this, I was fascinated already. But I was in my early 20s, so there was I didn't have the money, I didn't have the balls, I would say, to try it out. There was no need for. And now I started looking in the internet, and I can't tell you looking backwards, I can tell you how exactly I came to IronTech. I was fascinated by the name. I found some reviews in Trustpilot, and so I went after one night doing my research on material, on size, on I don't know, implanted hair or just a wig, on all this stuff. I gave myself overnight kind of binge inputs, what's there to know about these dolls. And then I made a decision and I gave about, as I would say, 2,700 euros via my credit card to this Chinese company. And this was for me like going all in, full risk. Yeah. And then I was in this waiting period after the order. I was getting nervous and more nervous every day because the website was down and there were so many warning lights. I would say today it's like warning internet fraud, and I just waited it out. And then there were pictures from the factory sent to my email address. And this was like, I was totally surprised and stunned and blown away to see the doll I ordered with my specifications sitting there on a bench in the factory somewhere in China. And then it takes another, let's say, 4 to 5 weeks via air transport and then all this customs controlling bullshit in Europe. And then you have the last step to your door with a UPS, which did a great job. And when you have this box lying in your hallway and you just carefully cut it open and open the first layer and remove the styrofoam protection, you are just blown away. I was stunned. I was impressed, and I instantly started to treat her like kind of human, like a human being, just because of the realism and the way she looked at me. And the first night, she was lying just side by side with me in my bed, under my blanket. I fucking slept like a baby. And this was for me, this was an experience where I realized this doll cannot replace a real relationship. Let's say maybe about 10 to maybe 15%. But it just gave me in this moment what I needed. My apartment wasn't, it didn't feel empty. You know, when I woke up and I saw this wonderful, I don't know, creature beside me, I felt great. I went to my bathroom, took all my drugs, my medicine, my alcohol from the kitchen sink, and just poured it into my toilet and flushed it down the toilet. From this day on, I was happy to come home from work. It was okay for me to spend the weekend alone at home by just having her at my side on my couch, watching TV, playing Xbox, whatever. And it was like the first few weeks, I took her to every room. I went to the bathroom, my dorm, my living room. And she was always on my side. And this felt great. And I started even talking to her. Sorry, I started talking to her. And this was like, this was just the affirmation for me to have that I made the right decision by going full risk and placing this order. Yeah. So kind of coincidence that I found love dolls.
For Florian, companionship didn't enter his life as an idea or a curiosity. It arrived during a period when things had become unsteady, when routines broke down, and the space around him felt heavier than it used to. He described the doll not as a solution, but as a presence, something that changed the atmosphere of the home and helped him begin to steady himself again. As Florian became more familiar with living with a doll, the materials, the care, the limitations, his understanding deepened. What began as something unfamiliar gradually became something he knew how to manage and live alongside. When he later added additional dolls, it wasn't about seeking something new, but about continuing something he'd already learned. I asked him how that first experience shaped what came next, and how one doll eventually became 3.
I wanted to kind of replace my lost companionship, my partnership, my girlfriend, whatever. And because all of this was kind of new to me, I made some mistakes. So I didn't know how to powder the skin. And then when the skin is not powdered, it becomes sticky and shiny. And then it's kind of easy to stretch and to damage. I had to learn about how to care, how to, I don't know, brush the implanted hairs, that you do not rip them out and have always a bunch of hairs in your hand. So I had to learn a few things, like when you have the doll in your bed, for example, and you have a blanket over her, and when you turn around at night and the blanket is sticking to her fingernails and you pull over, you will break off the nail because they are kind of sticking in the blanket. And I made some mistakes, so I bought some colors, some glue for silicone and all this stuff. And I thought to myself, okay, this was kind of an offer because many of the additional options I have chosen in the first place when I ordered her were for free. So usually I would have to pay 1,000 more for my configuration. And I thought to myself, okay, this is kind of your learning dummy. And now, after you learned what to do or what not to do, you go and buy another doll that you have the doll to care about and to treat in the perfect manner. But when the second doll arrived, it was the same. It was the same before. There was no way that I would take one of them into the packaging, into the box, and place them into my basement or my storage room or wherever. No fucking way. So now I had 2 dolls. And then I started to repair the first doll as good as I could. And I made some insane progress. I had some nice idea like do it yourself with the usual stuff from the grocery store, for example, from the drugstore. And then I had 2 dolls. Yeah, and a couple of months later, I was stalking in the internet just for nothing. And I received an email, and the vendor asked me that if I want to have another doll, because one of them, it seems like that there was an order, but he didn't pay. So it's just a story. But in fact, he made a nice offer. I couldn't say no. So it's 3. There will be no more dolls. When it now comes to your questions, like referring to maybe different personalities or whatever, I think yes. I have no specific topics when it comes to which doll is used for which setting. It's just coincidence, like it just fits or even not. But each of the dolls, however, they are the exact same order. Each of the dolls have different appearances, like the makeup and the face, or the company made progress in material and skeleton and joints and whatever. So they are kind of different for me. I see it. And this is what I kind of like. But for me, it's like always having some visitors in my home. You know, I come home, one is sitting at the table, was standing in the kitchen, or just sitting in my bureau or whatever, and lying on my couch. And so first in the first couple of weeks, I took the first doll and took her from room to room. And this was kind of exhausting. So, and now I have like a doll in each room. So it's okay for me. It's fine for me. Yeah. So it wasn't, I did not plan it like this. I didn't have any idea. I didn't have any imagination of how it would be or what's coming. I just let it flow, and now the situation, like it's here since I would say two years. It's the same. So yeah.
As Florian described his daily life, the conversation shifted towards something more internal. He spoke about respect, not as imitation, but as intention, about caring for the dolls carefully and approaching their presence thoughtfully. For him, the value wasn't in pretending someone was there, but in allowing space for reflection. He talked about speaking his thoughts aloud, something many people do privately, and how directing those thoughts toward a presence made the process feel less isolating. Through those conversations, he said he began to notice things about himself, patterns in communication, moments of misunderstanding, and habits he hadn't recognized before. In that way, the dolls became less about escape and more about awareness. When he eventually told his mother, he expected resistance. Instead, he was met with understanding. She told him that if this helped him heal, then it served a purpose, not as a replacement, but as support. Florian was clear about that distinction. He doesn't see dolls as a substitute for human connection. He still wants a relationship one day. For now, he described this period as recovery, a way to steady himself after loss until he's ready to move forward again.
Okay, so it's kind of two questions. One question is my daily life routine, and the other question is my impressions or how I deal with it. So first the question, what's the usual day? Usually one of my dolls is lying in my bed, sitting on the edge of my bed or whatever. And the point is, when I place a doll, she stays for a couple of days like this, because it's for me like very, very intensive care to make the hair, to care for the skin, the nails, and all the stuff. And when it's done, I'm just kind of, I would say, admiring this perfect situation, taking some photos, posting it on Instagram, and give me a short break into this. I'm posting on Instagram just to show other people how it is to have a doll at your home. You know, maybe if you go to Burger King or McDonald's or whatever, and you have these advertisements over the counter, overhead on the counter, you have these advertisements how I don't know, a Big Mac looks like, or a quarter pounder, I think you call it. And you know, when you open your package, it doesn't look like this advertisement on top on the counter. So what I try to show to other guys is that the doll at home can look exactly like in the commercial or advertisement from the factory or the seller. So, and another point is you can dress, for example, the doll like your girlfriend wouldn't ever do. So if you ask me how my days, I stand up, I say hello to my dolls or give them a kiss or whatever, and then I go have a coffee or a cigarette and talking to my dolls. And I do my daily routine, like sports, like bathroom, like home office, for example, or go to the grocery store. And but each time I see one of her, or sometimes I just take one of them, take her to the sofa, and I say, "Oh, this tonight I go to, I will watch some Netflix or Amazon, Paramount, whatever." And then I take one of the dolls, placing her on the couch, and just sitting beside her and having a nice evening. So what I try to do is to integrate these dolls in my life at home like a real girl would do. Sometimes I just stand one of them into the kitchen, not in front of the oven, because I do not want her to melt down. So it's like a few meters away. But when I'm cooking, that I'm not alone in my kitchen. She stands beside me, watching me, if you see my Instagram, you see, for example, that I have them in my bureau on my side, like a secretary or like a bureau assistant or whatever. So I try to treat them in my daily life like I would treat a real girl. And that means I treat my dolls respectfully, carefully. I take care of them for their needs, like usually making hairs, skin, and all the stuff. I'm looking that there are no pressure marks for sitting too long in the same place, standing too long. I will massage if she has pressure marks, I will massage the skin as long as the pressure mark is gone. I look for scratches, for fading colors and all that stuff. So I bring the attention to my dolls like I would to I ever gave to my real girlfriends. Yeah. And the second part of the question, it's a medium part. The point is sometimes it's very exhausting because they have kind of weight. They are kind of heavy, like about 58 kilogram each. And I totally like it because the weight is part of the realism for me. If a doll is too much weight reduced, it becomes more and more unrealistic in my point of view. So if you carry them around, place them on a table, stand them, it's kind of like weightlifting in the gym, for example. And you need some kind of stamina, I would say. And then I had situations I fell down with her, and a neighbor was coming because it was kind of insane here. I had to learn a lot, but when my girlfriend was here, I was carrying her around like I do with my dolls, for example, just for fun, or throwing her on my bed. And it's like I just try to have a normal life as much as possible for me. And the second part of your question now, how it feels to me, for me, it's kind of absolutely relaxing because since I had my dolls and I started talking to them, I realized the dolls are listening. They are not complaining. They are not arguing. They are not angry. They are just like they have understanding. When I'm hungry at night at 3 a.m., I get up and make some noodles in my fucking kitchen. No one is complaining, but I have someone laying in my bed waiting for me. And I started to realize the advantages if you have self conversations, it's kind of weird, but it doesn't feel as weird as it maybe is since I talk to my dolls. And when you talk, you start reflecting totally different things and in a totally different way about what you did, how you behaved, what you missed. To break it down, long story short, I learned so much about myself, about my mistakes, the misunderstandings in relationships, all these communication errors, just by talking to the dogs. And when I come home, I say, hello, how was your day? And sometimes I say, when I leave my apartment, I say, please behave. So don't do any bullshit. When I come home, don't burn it down. So it's like kind of I try to treat them like I treat a real girl, and that means especially with the respect, the understanding, the communication, and all the stuff. Yeah. So uh, a couple of months I told my mom what's going on here, but my mom only knows about one doll, not about three. I just thought go step by step. And my mom was kind of really open-minded to it. That surprised me totally because I didn't expect it. Especially here in Germany, people have their assholes so tight as fuck that you cannot push a pencil in, and they are like prejudging you like a pervert, like a sexual deviant scum or whatever. And the point is, my mom had the kind of vision to analyze the situation for me that she said, she is your medicine. This doll here is my medicine that made my mind heal. And there she is right. It's not about any sexual I don't know. It's about healing mentally, and this is what I got. And I never thought in any second that the doll can replace a real woman. I had discussions with women talking like this is some kind of anti-woman behavior, and I thought, no, it's not. It's fucking not. I'm not replacing a girl. It's the medicine for me because no girl would stay in a relationship with a guy whining for his lost girl. So I have to stay single and alone until I'm over my last relationship. And in this period, why do I have to live alone? Why can't I have a doll here giving me the simulation of a relationship? And when this is done, and I learn to know another girl, I'm open for a new relationship, maybe for a marriage or whatever, then the dolls have to go. It's not the point that I'm here with my dolls to say, okay, now it's the perfect situation. This is what I ever wanted. I'm totally fine. No, I feel lonely sometimes. I'm missing a real girl. I'm missing relationships. I'm missing arguments. I'm missing nice times, quality times. Of course, I miss it. But the dolls in my home helped me heal, getting over my lost relationship, getting out of the pitch black hole I was mentally stuck in. And this is what it's about for me. And this is why I learned that everyone has a meaning, but everyone has an asshole too. So it's my money, my apartment, my responsibility, my health. So yeah, this is how I feel about it.
As we continued talking, Florian spoke about creativity, not as talent, but as necessity. He described a period when his mental health reached a breaking point and when he realized he needed something that could hold his attention completely, something structured, something absorbing. That's when photography entered his life. He began focusing on small details, the position of hands, the direction of light, the background of a room. The process demanded patience, and in that patience, his thoughts slowed. He spoke about how concentrating on an image could occupy him for hours, long enough that the noise in his head faded into the background. Through that focus, he began creating order where there had once been chaos. He also shared a frustration many creators recognize that the images requiring the most care often receive the least attention, while simpler ones spread more easily. Over time, the likes mattered less. What mattered was the moment he would look at a finished photograph and think, I made this. He described gratitude toward what the process allowed him to feel, stability, direction, and something to return to each day. For him, photography wasn't about performance or attention. It was about having a reason to slow down and a way to keep moving forward.
First of all, I think it's a combination of two important things. I always like taking photographs like flowers or insects, or this is the reason why I had in first place, I think the iPhone 4 and 4S, and then Samsung came out with a way better camera. And so I switched the company, and I love taking photos, but always looking for a motive or for a nice situation. And then I figured out that I was looking for kind of hobby, like I went to the shooting range, for example. I had guns at home, like a long barrel rifle, and I had a Smith & Wesson 44 long barrel revolver. And when you are in a depressive state and start talking suicidal shit, police comes over and taking your gun, which is the right way, of course, because if you are mentally unstable, you shouldn't have guns at home. So police came over, they took my guns away, and it was totally fine for me. But I lost a hobby which made me concentrate on a certain situation and not think about anything else. And I figured out when I started making photographs of the dolls, I was looking around on Instagram and all this stuff. And my impression on Instagram, for example, is that there are many people taking photos of their dolls, but they do not go fully in, like looking for details. If I see guys. Like, for example, there are guys like getting promo dolls for free to make a report, some photos, some advertisement for a brand or manufacturing. And he is taking photos, and I see his shaving cream in the fucking shelf behind the doll, or a wig or socks lying around, or I'm asking myself, what's wrong with you? Don't you see on your own how the fuck can you sit at home in your fucking tiny apartment, which is not a complaint, but no matter how poor you are, you can clean up your apartment. And how can you, if someone makes you a present like a 3,000 euro doll, and you are not capable of cleaning up the one fucking corner in your apartment to place the doll and take a decent picture? And like many of these dolls are like they look like they had seizures or someone drove over them and they had broken limbs. I think, who the fuck is thinks these photos, it doesn't get any better. So I started to come back to your point. I started taking pictures and focusing on details. For example, I think one of the points that makes a picture look realistic is the position of fingers and hands. And if I place every finger and I go back, take a picture, oh no, doesn't look real. And it goes backwards, forward. And then I make the hairstyle and think for another one. Then I look for the lights, the shadows, the reflections. Can I see anything in the pictures like my sneakers, or I don't know. So it's kind of this occupies me in a way that I do not think about anything else for hours. And this is what I like. I can maybe, I don't know, it's kind of mental. Maybe I'm nuts in the way I'm diving into this, but I know that it's not the usual way, and I know that people from outside think this guy is insane. But for me, it's about finding something to do, not thinking about anything else. And this is what and then I figured out the more effort I put into, the less likes I do get on Instagram. For example, I made this photo set where she's sitting in my flight chair and flying the Microsoft Flight Sim on my TV. It took me hours I had to rebuild the chair with her sitting on it because she was too heavy to lift her over the keyboard and this sideboard. And it kind of was awesome. And then I had to place the fingers on the joysticks, the feet on the rudder pedals and all this stuff. It took me hours to take the first picture. And people fucking do not like, what's the word? They do not value it because the primitive people on Instagram, they just want to see silicon butts and boobs and that's it. And if you ask me by myself for my true opinion, these people on Instagram, the only thing they want to see is like you fucking a doll. That's it. And they have no feeling, no idea of the effort, like Doll Lover Photography, the guy from Canada. These guys put into their photographs. It takes hours to do one picture. And this is what I like to. So when I started doing the pictures, I found out it's a nice occupation for my mind where I can dive into like into something that makes me concentrate, that makes me focus on one tiny thing, like a finger position. And then it gets outside, it gets bright, it gets dark, and it's like, wow, one day gone, and I made a couple of nice photos. Yeah. But after all, I see my pictures and I think, wow. And then I go to my dolls and I talk to them and I say them, thank you, ladies, that I don't know how you did it, but somehow you got 12,000 miles around the globe from China to fucking Europe into my apartment without any damage or any problems. Thank you for coming here. And yeah, this is like, makes me feel good. It's not about bragging. It's not about showing off. It's not about making people envy it. All this stuff someone may think. No, I do it for two reasons. One reason, I have something to do which totally takes me, and I want to show other guys maybe in the same position like me. If you see this, maybe you just buy a doll and have a better life until the next woman comes to your life. So, yeah.
When people hear that someone owns multiple dolls of the same model, they often assume it's about duplication. But for Florian, it wasn't about repeating something, it was about familiarity. During recovery, comfort often comes from what already feels known. I asked him how he thought about individuality and what, if anything, made each doll feel different to him.
I was asked, especially by Iron Tech, why do you buy 3 times the same doll? And I told them, because never change the winning system, the running system. I was so impressed. To be honestly, honestly talking, when I bought the first doll, I was looking for a body similar to the body of my ex-girlfriend. She was perfect in my eyes, and this is not meant superficial. I'm just talking about the optics. It's like mentally we just connected. It was like a female part of myself, and so if I make the decision to give so much money for a doll looking as human as possible, then fuck off. I will pay a body. I will buy a body that fits my imagination, my wishes perfectly. So there was no need for me to buy another one. And the second doll arrived here. She looked like a little bit older. She was made different from the makeup and the hairstyle. So she was like the bigger sister, the older sister. And the third doll, she got another name too. And she got another, like she has another expression in her face. And I don't know if you saw it on my pictures, but even the manufacturer wrote an email and said, it's impressive how you get to look your dolls in a different mood and face expression just by moving the head and the eyes. Yeah, from my point of view, they have different personalities. They are kind of different age. Yeah, I would say yes. It's not just a toy or an object for some kind of, I don't know the expression in English. I would say something in between the mental and the real world. Like, I don't know, it's maybe like too esoteric, but for me, it's working like this. Yeah.
As the conversation continued, it shifted outward, away from the home and toward the way doll ownership is seen from the outside. When people encounter this world for the first time, it's rarely through everyday stories. It's usually through extremes. The images that travel the farthest tend to be the loudest, the most unusual, because those are easier to package and easier to react to. Florian acknowledged that those examples exist, but he also felt that when they become the only stories told, something quieter disappears. Ordinary people, people living private lives, people navigating loss, loneliness, and change without wanting to be on display. He spoke about how often the conversation stops at sexuality, while overlooking companionship, routine, and the human need for presence. For him, the dolls weren't about spectacle. They were about not feeling alone in a world that often feels increasingly disconnected. He believes that as more everyday voices are heard, public perception will continue to shift, not through headlines, but through familiarity, through seeing people who look ordinary, speak plainly, and live quietly, not as symbols, just as themselves.
What people think about doll owners is kind of justified, because like in each profession, you have 90% of the people just being fine and 10% destroying it for the other 90%. So when it comes to doll owners, some of them are fucking freaks. Yeah. And they would, I don't know, they fuck everything that has legs except chairs and tables. I don't know. And these guys, they destroy it for all the others. Because if someone is making a documentary about a doll owner, and I do not know how this works out, they always find this one creepy guy. You know, if you see a documentary about a guy living with a sex doll, a love doll at home, they just choose the creepiest guy ever to be found. And I think okay, fine. What I did, when the doll was in my place, I kind of felt proud for her. I could not believe it that I'm the one having a doll at home. And I was totally open to it. So I can, if my landlord, for example, came to my apartment because he had to fix a Rolo, uh, the doll was standing in my hallway. He was kind of scared, and then he realized that it's not a naked girl, it's a doll. And then he looked at me, started laughing, and said to myself, "You are a fucking genius." And I knew exactly what he meant. And a lot of my friends know what's going on here, and they understand it. I don't know what they are talking behind my back, but the point is, it's shifting because social media takes us to a wider public. It gives us some kind of publicity that makes people from outside realize that it's not about sexuality. And when I talk to IronTech, for example, I told IronTech, maybe outside the protocol now, I told IronTech, you have to shift your advertisements. As long as you go on the sexual points, and this is kind of important, it's still the core business. But I told them, if you point your focus, your scope on guys like me, you can increase your selling numbers by far. Because if you go to the mental supportive companionship like healing thing, whatever you like it to name it, people realize that they do not buy a sex toy. If it's about a sex toy, it's a question €100 in Amazon for some electric whatever wanks you off rubber bullshit, or a couple of thousands of euros, and then you go to Amazon just because of the money. So the point is, if you look at these dolls, and if you realize what they mean in there, really to your all day life alone at home, in a society, our society is getting lonelier and lonelier every day, and people do not realize it because they are connected via internet to someone else. But it's just internet. The internet is nothing. It's nothing. You are alone at home. So, and when I had my dolls here, I realized that I'm not longer feeling alone. And if you ask me how the public thinks about it, I think this is shifting because more and more people, like when I look to my surrounding, my social surrounding, I would say that the guys in my surrounding totally understand me and totally see it with a different eye. The first point I was confronted that girls talk to me and think, what? Look at you. You can have every girl you want because of my, I don't know, body shape, my job, my whatever. And I told them, no, it's exactly the opposite. If I meet a girl outside, the first question is, why is someone like you single? What's wrong with you? And then I say, okay, I'm single because I hate girls. It's ironically speaking. And the point is they are prejudging me. They are asking me, they are giving me some kind of, I don't know, superficial statements, analysis, and I'm sick and tired of these Instagram girls running around outside. You know, if you see the girls today, they have a cell phone in their hand, and you think, what the fuck? Can you put your cell phone into your fucking bag for 10 seconds when you enter a subway? Might it be possible And then you think, no, maybe if she puts away the cell phone for 10 seconds, she is unconscious because it's some kind of pacer for her brain and her heart. This makes me sick. The girls outside since Corona, since this looking for online attention. If you have a girl at home looking into their cell phone all the time, you are competing with the world, not with your neighbor or with your friend or a colleague. No, you have to compete with the world because she sees every day what other guys make better than you. And every morning she wakes up, she has new 50 likes, comments, and follower requests and all this bullshit. And she feels like a queen just by showing her butthole. And this is nothing. But this gives her a self-confidence that is mental. And I just decided, okay, I have to leave this kind of sick circuit. And since I did it, girls look at me and say, what's wrong with you? Why are you not interested in me? How sick do you have to be to live at home with adults? And when you ask me about the guys, this is what I'm not like some other guys, not in this public imagination scheme like they have when they talk about sex doll owners. Because when in Germany they talk about sex doll owners, they talk about old, lonely, creepy sexual perverts. And I'm not matching into this. So they are looking, how can we put him into this position that he is matching our imagination about sex doll owners? But I think it's shifting. And this is the point why I think what you do is way more important than anything else, like writing articles from some brands. What you do, you bring people like me to a broader public that others can rethink about what they thought are love doll owners.
As we talked about public perception, the conversation gradually turned inward again, back to the home. Because beyond how dolls are viewed from the outside, there's a quieter question underneath it all. What does it actually mean to share space with something that isn't human, but isn't nothing either? Florian spoke about living alone and about how isolation over time can change the way a person relates to others. I asked him what sharing space with a doll feels like, and what, if anything, it teaches him about being in a relationship at all.
If you live together with a girl, you have to make compromises. You have to share spaces and all the stuff. You have to arrange your daily routine. The dolls are the best of both sides. Like, I can be egoistic when it comes to my daily routines, to my plans, to my ideas. No one is complaining. There's no one I have to take care of when it comes to my actions. It's not about that I'm reckless. It's just about that there is no need for compromises. The point is, I rather would like to live with a real girl than with dolls because I'm missing it. And I would like to be in a situation, someone asking me for compromises. If you are single for too long, you get kind of, I would say, like an anvil. You are not flexible. You do not know how to make compromises. You are there or not. And what the dolls bring to me, the dolls are kind of middle thing between, because sometimes I have to place the doll out of the kitchen because I want to clean it, I want to cook, I want to. So I have to think about, I ask her, do you want to go to the living room, where I try to keep this stimulation, this feeling of a real relationship alive, that when maybe Captain Coincidence is helping me, and when I get to know a real girl, maybe for a relationship, that the step from being single for 6 years to a relationship is not as big, because I try to handle the situation here like it would be a real girl. So I don't know if you get what I'm trying to talk to explain to you. But the dolls are like maybe see it like this: if you lose your driver's license and and the court tells you you are not allowed to drive a car for 6 years, and not to forget all about driving, you go to the store and buy some kind of electric scooter or whatever, so that you are like driving around in public traffic and with other people. So when you get your driver's license back, it's not a huge step for you to drive the car again.
What Florian described wasn't about avoiding relationships, it was about staying capable of them. He spoke about sharing space as something that requires practice, compromise, awareness, and consideration of another presence. When someone lives alone for too long, he said, those habits can quietly fade. So for him, the dolls weren't about replacing a partner, but about keeping that part of himself active, remaining attentive, remaining flexible. He used an analogy that stayed with me, like losing a driver's license for a period of time and still finding ways to stay familiar with the road. Not because a bicycle is the same as a car, but because movement matters. What he described wasn't imitation, it was preparation, a way of remembering how to exist alongside another, so that when he's ready for a relationship again, he doesn't feel disconnected from it. In that sense, sharing space wasn't about withdrawal, it was about readiness. As the conversation came closer to its end, I asked Florian about boundaries, not rules imposed from the outside, but the ones he sets for himself, where privacy begins, and how he decides what feels right.
Okay, there are, let's say, 2 or 3 different types. First of all, boundary when it comes to with the dolls, I have a boundary to go out with the dolls in public. So, for example, I see guys carrying out the dolls around. I would never do it. It's in my in the privacy of my apartment, and that's it. When people come to my place, they learn to know it. It's all fine. But the second type of boundaries is talking points like with colleagues or whatever. I have to be very, very careful. And so I just keep it private and only a couple of coworkers know what's going on, but I fully trust these people. The third point when it comes to boundaries is my treatment of the dolls. I would never do anything to one of these dolls, like hitting them or whatever. So I treat them like real girls, and I treat women respectfully. So I had, for example, a situation that a doll fell over. She was standing in my hallway. I just turned around. I didn't be careful enough to secure her on the wall. She was falling over, and it just broke my heart. I cannot explain it. I just turned around. I have been working as a paramedic for, let's say, nearly 20 years before. And in this moment, I just felt like put back in time, like in a real emergency. I was turning her around, checking her eyes, checking the limbs, checking the skeleton for. It was awful. And it was a relief to find out there's nothing broken and no damages. And another time, I was making the hairs, and I wasn't careful enough, so I had a couple of hairs in the like how it's called, brush, or I don't know, brush, I think. And I feel bad, if I redress her or if I make another position, I take care of that she not might felt hurt. And when it comes to boundaries, I would never, I cannot understand. If you sometimes realize how other guys treat the dolls, it's like, I don't get it. I just, they are psychopaths. I don't get it. So I treat my dolls like real human beings.
He spoke about keeping his life with dolls private, about not bringing them into public spaces, about choosing discretion, not out of shame, but out of respect for himself and for others. He described care as something intentional, moving carefully and handling gently, paying attention. He recalled moments when a doll fell or when he brushed the hair too roughly, and how that reaction surprised him. not because the doll was fragile, but because care had become instinctive. For him, that instinct mattered. He explained that how someone treats something, even when no one is watching, says something important about who they are. That's where he places the boundary, not in pretending, but in responsibility. Before we wrapped up, I asked Florian what he would say to someone standing at the edge of curiosity, not someone convinced, just someone wondering, someone trying to understand whether this world might hold anything meaningful for them.
First of all, I would say get rid of everything you might think about other people's talk about you. Get rid of all other opinions, get rid of all other remarks or prejudges. Just do your thing. It's your life, your apartment, your money, your responsibility, your healing, your situation. And no one else has to talk about it. And if you want to buy a house, you do not talk to people living for rent. If you want to know how a healthy relationship works, you do not ask divorced people. So if you are asking yourself if you should buy a doll, ask someone having a doll, not people that do not own a doll. Ask always the people that are there where you want to be. Everyone else can just tell you how not to be there. So this is my first advice. The second advice is that you have to do a little research. For example, it's important that you about to know, when it comes to material, so different type of heads, what are what is meant like by TPE or ROS, or what is all this meaning, and that you can read an offer. You must be able to read an offer, an advertisement, and understand what is written there. If you do not know anything about ball joints or about Evo skeleton or ROS, or then it becomes very difficult because you do not know what you are looking at. So train yourself, make yourself familiar with this topic. Like if you go and buy, and men usually do it. If men just go and buy rims for their Dodge Charger, they can write a monologue about pages about different kind of rims, materials, and all this bullshit. So, or like when it comes to TV or consoles like PlayStation. So if you want to buy a doll, inform yourself that you can talk about the topics, that you know what you are reading. The third point is do not think too long. If there's too much water under the bridge, you maybe might find too many reasons not to do it. In this waiting period, where you make yourself insecure and even ask people from the outside, and even these people make you even more insecure, then you just lose time that you might have with your doll and makes you happy. So it's like give a bullshit about others' opinions. It's your life. Inform yourself and do not hesitate too long. Just go for it. Go all in, buy the doll, and the rest is just experience. So I did it all on my own. I didn't ask anyone. I didn't talk to anyone. It was my decision. It was a decision in between a couple of days. I didn't have the money, so it was all in debt of my fucking credit card. But I didn't have any regrets.
He encouraged people to listen first to those with lived experience, to speak with owners, not commentators, to take time to learn, to understand materials, expectations, and realities. But he also spoke about something many people recognize: decision fatigue, the point where too much information becomes paralyzing. At some stage, he said curiosity either turns into action or fades away. For him, moving forward didn't mean certainty. It meant choosing to learn through experience rather than staying stuck in hesitation. This wasn't a story about convincing anyone. It was simply one person describing his life in his own words. Not as a headline, not as an extreme, just as himself. Sometimes understanding doesn't come from answers. It comes from listening long enough to hear something familiar in someone else's experience. This has been The Interrogation Room. Case file closed.